Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello and welcome to Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about understanding our sexual function and how to improve it, noticing the distractions which are preventing great sex, and the lessons which we should have been taught in sex ed. But before we jump into that, Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
Oh, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
2022. We made it.
We did make it.
There were times where I didn't think I was going to. I know that sounds like it's in jest, but 2021 was rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
Parts of it were rough.
Yeah.
But I think that my fuel up was our New Year's Eve date night.
New Year's Eve was really fun. Didn't quite go to plan, but...
No, it did not, but we had a really lovely dinner in Sydney, not too far from Circular Quay.
Yeah.
Then we wandered down to see the fireworks at the event that we'd booked tickets for our viewing spot, which we were then not allowed in due to a capacity issue. So we did the mad sprint to try and get to the best vantage point that we could.
We found a pretty good spot.
Yeah, we did. Honestly, if you can see any part of Sydney Harbour on New Year's Eve, I think you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, and we were really close to the bridge and surrounded by fireworks, which was amazing.
Yeah, so it was really nice to spend the night with you and reflect a little bit on the year that was, and also...
And kiss in the new year.
Kiss in the new year, yeah. What about you? What was your fuel up?
Oh, well, that was definitely one of them. But the other one was that we've moved house and we spent our first few nights in our new place.
It's been very decadent, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, even the first few days that we've been here, we've spent... probably an hour or two down at the beach each day. And yeah, like that is definitely the lifestyle that we were looking for. And it's what we're
embracing.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're starting out the new year with new vibes. Our actual apartment is upside down in chaos still, but we've moved.
And our previous apartment's still in chaos too, but that's all good. We've moved, we're in, we're enjoying it, we're vibing the lifestyle, and keen to see what 2022 is going to bring us. Yeah,
I hope you've all had at least a couple of moments to refuel some of your tanks. I know lots of people will have gone back to work in the last couple of days, or some of you might still have a few more days off. Enjoy them, relish them, take as much fuel as you possibly can, and here's to 2022.
Yeah, and now here's this week's guest.
Today we've got Jacqui Olliver joining us. She is the founder of Psychosexual Alignment method, creator of the Inner Vaginal Flush Technique, and a published author. Jacqui renews relationships by solving mental, emotional, and sexual issues for men, women, and couples. With her unique views on sexual function, human psychology, and emotions being heralded as having the potential to change the universal perspective on health and relationships, Jacqui corrects the root cause of sexual function and emotional connection issues, which are most often caused by focusing on the wrong action at the wrong time. Welcome to the show, Jacqui.
Thank you, Sammy.
So how did you end up getting into this line of work?
Like most people, started with my own challenges and needed answers that weren't available.
Went on the hunt?
Went on the hunt. Particularly, I had been in a long-term relationship with a partner for 15 years. We had both had sexual function issues, mostly due to a lack of relevant sex education knowledge, which still isn't taught today. And then he actually died on the eve of our 15th anniversary together. And
sorry to hear that.
It was really challenging at the time. From that point, I wanted to not only help myself recover from that, from feeling not able to function properly as a human being from my own part, but also understanding how to help others, men and women, solve sexual function issues so that they can grow together in their relationship and experience less anxiety, less tension, less stress, less arguments. Because when you don't have that ability to connect as a couple, then you're really just friends. You can be very good friends, amazing friends even, but you just don't have that deeper connection that every person in a relationship craves. So my method developed from that point in time, not just to help myself, but to help others so they don't have to suffer.
So yes. I think I've got this correct, that you identify as a sex therapist?
I identify with my own modality, which is psychosexual alignment.
Yeah.
So therapy, whereas if I can just clarify, therapy tends to focus on all the issues surrounding intimacy without addressing the wrong sexual focus issue. So if you're focusing on the wrong action at the wrong time during sexual intimacy, you're going to confuse your brain as to what's wanted, and that can result in weak erections and premature ejaculation for men, or being unable to ejaculate. And for women, it results in a low libido or no libido, inner vaginal dryness and pain, and having problems reaching an orgasm. So these are really crucial things to address. Not fun things, no.
So your business is called End the Problem. What is the problem?
The problem, that's a really good question. The problem is that pain and distraction affect arousal and desire. These are the problems. So the problem is not being able to reach a deeper level of connection because there may be a pain problem. There's a huge percentage of women, and not just menopausal, who experience inner vaginal dryness. There's the distractions of we don't have a sex education relevant to deeper connection, but also being able to function just normally. And so there's the distraction that comes with that when you're not able to connect because one partner can't orgasm, so the other partner feels like they're huge performance anxiety, especially as a male, because he needs to stay hard and in control for that whole duration, trying to help his partner reach an orgasm, which is a very fine line. So that's a distraction. A porn education is a distraction, hard and fast and constant change of position. I've lost count of the amount of males I've helped solve sexual function issues who thought that every woman wanted that. All women want that hard and fast, constant change of position. Whereas if she's just in that arousal scale, she's just starting to feel good, she's starting to think it's like, oh, this might be an orgasm, and then it's another change of position. It's like, oh, really? I was just getting into that. And if she doesn't know how to correctly balance her sexual focus, she's going to lose her position on the sexual arousal scale, go back to the beginning, start from scratch, and then it happens again 5 minutes later if her partner is able to last long enough. So with the pain and distractions being there, these have to be resolved. It doesn't matter how long you've been together in a relationship. Eventually, it's going to cause problems because you can't fully connect.
Yeah. So you mentioned distractions there too. Does that also include like environmental distractions, like things around you and things like that too, like phones next to you that are going off and things like that, and other outside
the dog
distractions?
Busting into the room. What's happening on the street down below?
Well, one thing I've noticed is that if there's a sexual function issue present, which actually happens to about 80% of adults, 80%.
That's
that
massive,
can be from...
It's everyone. It's everyone.
Just about. So when there's that distraction there, then all the other distractions add to that.
Yeah.
So that's the dog barking, not using lubrication. If you're not using lubrication, then you've got a particular size going into a much smaller hole. They've got to push their way in. That in itself can cause sexual function challenges or pain. And so it's this type of lack of real knowledge that contributes to all of the distractions. And over time, that affects arousal and affects desire, and then you end up in a sexless marriage.
Hey, Jacqui, you mentioned there the term sexual function. Can you kind of define that or summarize that term for us?
Sexual function is like the physical operating system. For a male, it's being able to get hard, stay hard, and control when he ejaculates. For a female, it's to get turned on, stay turned on, and orgasm easily when she wants to. So these are your basic sexual programs as a male and as a female. And you progress through these programs. For a male, he gets hard, and then so he's got to maintain that hardness throughout foreplay, throughout penetration, throughout intercourse. And how he balances his sexual focus while giving his partner foreplay, and this is where a lot of males go wrong, is they put too much attention on giving their partner foreplay and lose the erection hardness because they're not giving their brain, his own brain, enough arousing signals for his brain to keep that sexual program operational. Oh, you don't want that? Okay, well, let's just cancel out the erection. He's like, no. So there is the confusion there because people don't understand that you need to focus your attention in a specific way for your brain to understand what you want. And that's what psychosexual alignment is all about, giving your brain signals relevant to where you're wanting to be on that sexual arousal scale to keep focused so that your brain knows what you want. And there isn't any confusion there, which results in the sexual dysfunction, which is what you don't want.
Hey, Jacqui, I of all my girlfriends, I'm probably the first one to bring up sex. I love talking about it. I love knowing what other people are doing. I like sharing what we've been doing or not doing. I feel like of my girlfriends, I'm probably one of the more open ones. But I know that I'm not necessarily the norm in terms of the willingness to have those conversations quite openly. I've got other girlfriends that are like head for the hills as soon as this topic comes up, which comes up regularly when I'm around. But I'm going to guess that this is a key part of having good sexual function within your relationship is that you can talk about it.
Right. And the fact that you can talk about it indicates to me that you don't have any sexual function issues.
That's a good thing. So maybe my girlfriends who are heading for the hills maybe do have some sexual function issues?
That's usually the case. If you don't have any problems sexually, then you may look at a friend and think, well, why would you have problems? It's so easy. And yet what often happens is that you go through life, there's no problems, there's no challenges sexually, and then suddenly your partner loses erection hardness or ejaculates early. And then some couples will just ride their way through that and think, oh, it's just a one-off thing. But if that becomes embedded in your consciousness, then the next time you go to have sex, you start worrying about that thing happening or not happening. Now your mind is distracted. Now your brain doesn't know what you want, so it's less likely to give it to you. And also you wouldn't know what you were doing right before. So that can start that slippery slide to having a long-term sexual function issue because you don't know what you were doing right before because you haven't had a sex education relevant to engaging sexually as an adult. So what happens is that when you have sex for the first time, usually as a teenager, then things either go right and everything just seems to fall into place and it seems natural, or it doesn't work as it should. And then you're constantly wondering what you're doing differently to everyone else. And you try your position, you hold your tongue in a different way, you try all these different therapies all under the rainbow, and nothing works. Because if you're not balancing your sexual focus correctly, you're not giving your brain the relevant signals to complete or engage that program. So when people don't want to talk about sex, usually it can be a religious upbringing and they just don't feel comfortable about it. But usually there is an underlying challenge there. It might be their own challenge or it might be a challenge that their partner has. And we don't like to feel like we're failing as human beings, so we tend not to talk about them. And, of course, if you go mainstream, mainstream may tell you that, well, there's no cure for premature ejaculation. Erectile dysfunction means you've got heart disease. Inner vaginal dryness, well, we can't do anything. Here's some estrogen cream. Whereas once you understand how your focus and actions can influence the muscle programs and the hormones in your body, and you know how to give your brain relevant signals to engaging the right balance of these things, then you can influence harden and control. You can influence enjoyable sex and orgasms. You can switch your libido back on in 10 minutes, even if you've given birth 7 years ago and haven't enjoyed sex since. So there are specific ways that you can re-engage the connection between your brain and your body. So now you've got the circuits back on board, and now you can start having those conversations about sex and what you like and what you don't like, and to just guide your partner and guide each other towards experiencing more of what you want. So it's part of it is education and understanding how it works, not just how not to get pregnant and how to apply a condom.
That's what I was going to say, is that my experience of sex ed at high school particularly was very fear-driven or health conscious driven. I don't remember ever having a conversation about sex being like a pleasurable, enjoyable, desirable thing. It was very much penis enters vagina, ejaculation, make a baby, and try not to get some diseases along the way. So yeah, and I mean, even the concept of like female and male masturbation, like I don't remember ever having dialogue around those things at all. So what would you say are some of the fundamentals that we should have been taught?
The key fundamental is understanding the influence of your focus, understanding that this is how the sexual programs are activated. This is the focus that you require to move along the arousal scale in an enjoyable and satisfying manner. It's like the difference between having 10 lessons with a driving instructor or being given a car, a key, and a fuel voucher. Here you go, son or daughter. There's the highway, off you go.
Don't crash it.
Never would have happened. Yeah. But if you don't know how to operate the vehicle, if you don't know how to operate your own vehicle, then chances are you're going to get together with someone else who doesn't know how to operate their vehicle, and there's going to be problems.
Yeah, especially teenager to teenager. And I mean, I didn't mention it there, but I mean, all of my sex ed was heterosexual. Like there was never any conversation about same-sex intercourse or like that those relationships existed or what pleasure might look like in those situations either.
But I think that's because it was all based around making you human and not getting diseases. Like that was basically the whole premise of it. And so
so why would you be doing that if you
if you're in a same-sex couple?
What you said before about the prerequisites of a sex education, you need to deal with understanding that pain and distractions affects desire and arousal, or arousal and desire. So you need to understand what causes pain. For example, different sizes can cause a great deal of pain. Different hormonal changes. If you're stressed, then your brain's priority is survival. It's stress hormones. And those stress hormones make your body tense. So if you're already tense thinking about sex, then from the female perspective, her vagina is going to contract. So if she's dry, that gives another level of pain, another level of distraction for her partner and herself. So it's understanding the requirements to reduce or remove the pain and the distraction. So it's understanding the causes and dealing with those causes. It's understanding desire. It's like when we are younger, we tend to be a lot healthier. As people become older, many people don't deal with the requirements for staying healthy and eating well and maintaining exercise and maintaining looking after yourself, self-care on all levels, and growing yourself as a person. Some couples get together and they're on their best behavior initially, but then they think, oh, my partner loves me how I am. I can just be blah. I can be a couch potato. I can not clean up after myself.
Have my track pants and my top knot bun every day of the week.
That's right. And yet, would you do that when you're first dating a person?
Probably
not so much, and not unless you're going jogging. You've got a jogging date, and that's appropriate there. But we tend not to do the actions that maintain desire for each other. And all of these things have a long-term effect, not just on your sex life, but on the overall strength and health and longevity of your relationship. So if you want it to keep getting better and better and better and better, then you need to step up with your A game. And that's who you are being, how you are being. Now, if you're not feeling good in yourself, then you're going to be picky on your partner. So it's understanding your emotions and how to restore a calm and balanced, empowered emotional state. So you're more likely to make decisions which are empowering for yourself, but empowering for your relationship, where you're able to support each other instead of tearing each other down. These are all parts of real education.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you said there about if a woman is stressed and then she's experiencing vaginal dryness and then tension, and then it's like actually sex is actually uncomfortable and not pleasurable. I imagine that then that creates a cycle of it not being, sex not really being something that you desire or something that you seek, and then that circle continuing to perpetuate. So if someone's found themselves in a cycle like that, where they're actually like just not all that interested in engaging in that part of their relationship, what is the very first step to getting things back on track to maybe where they want it to be?
It's about upgrading your knowledge base, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you have an ongoing problem, you don't know how to solve it. So you need to get in contact with someone who does.
Yeah.
But
get a coach.
Or just upgrade your knowledge base and understand that medical professionals may not have the answers that you're looking for. With the inner vaginal dryness, I developed the Inner Vaginal Flush Technique after I started experiencing it at perimenopause. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wanted to run for the hills. And so the Inner Vaginal Flush Technique is a simple downward action with your vagina. So it's a pushing down action, as though you can imagine that you're blowing a kiss with your vagina. If you try that now, Sam.
I'm like trying now. I'm like, oh, what does that feel like? What does the pushing down motion feel like?
A pushing down action. Any woman who has given birth knows what it's like. But more fun ways, you can actually, as you become stronger at doing this, you can eject a tampon. But the more fun way of looking at it is, well, that's actually quite fun to do. But the fun way
get really good core strength, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's that pushing down action, and it's also like blowing a kiss with your vagina or blowing a bubble with your vagina. It's that pushing down action. And what this does is it flushes the inner walls of the vagina. So whereas external lubricant really only lubricates the outside of the vagina, when a person is experiencing inner vaginal dryness and pain, it's all of the inside. So any type of penetration is just excruciating. With the Inner Vaginal Flush Technique, you just do it once, a couple of times when you're undressing, maybe while you're engaging in kissing or cuddling or oral with a partner, and then just before penetration. And when I developed this technique, when I first started experiencing it, I booked an appointment with a gynecologist, and I waited 8 weeks for the appointment, and I was just practicing this inner vaginal flush technique throughout the day because it was kind of fun as well, and I could feel the benefits sexually. It just eliminated the pain associated, just gone. And when I got to the gynecologist's appointment and she was looking inside and she said, well, how old did you say that you are? I said, I'm 42. And she said, well, you've got the healthiest vagina I've ever seen.
Amazing. Gold star.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And so this is one of my go-to methods to help women eliminate the pain issues that are affecting their libido and desire. Some women, I had one woman who was 23 and she was experiencing vaginismus, which is excruciating penetration where no one can penetrate anything.
A girlfriend of mine has been through that. It sounded really awful. Really not a pleasant thing to go through. Yeah.
And a really devastating thing for a relationship as well.
It was really hard for them. And they went through all the treatment, all of the stages, and they are good now. Their relationship had the opportunity to develop in other ways, but it built a lot of understanding in their relationship. Yeah. And they've gone on to have 2 kids now. And
Wonderful.
So if anyone who's going through it, it's possible. You can do it.
Absolutely. Well, this young woman that I helped out, I taught her the Inner Vaginal Flush Technique and how to focus on her partner in such a way that it was just relaxing her and just removing the stress hormones so her body wasn't contracting. And she contacted me and said, well, since that first session, the vaginismus symptoms are 80% gone. And she'd been to all of the specialists, all of the treatments, and had said, well, you're my last hope. So what's relevant here is that with the right knowledge and techniques, most sexual dysfunction issues can be solved or can be improved on, can be alleviated so that those distractions are gone. And when the distractions are gone, then you can really focus on enhancing your connection. Then you can experience sex as it's meant to be, something that is enjoyable and joyous and connecting and huge boosts in oxytocin and dopamine and all the feel-good hormones. But if you have a sexual function issues there, you don't get that. You just get more and more stress hormones.
Jacqui, I really like that you brought that up because it's probably a long-winded story, but stick with me. So 2 years ago, we went and stayed at a friend's house and we house sat their apartment for 2 weeks. And this friend, they had a Google Home smart house system. And one of the most amazing things about that was that you could turn on music by voice activation. So we came home back to our apartment. We're like, we need this voice activated music thing. And it honestly changed the game for us in our bedroom a lot because I had no idea how much chatter I had going on in my brain that was keeping me away from being 100% present. But now that we've got hey Google, play bedroom jams playlist, she probably will chime in now. Yeah, and it doesn't disrupt us. It's voice activated and then it just happens. And it wasn't really, she's trying to participate. She's got one of me. It really, us embedding music into our, routine was a really big game changer. And now that I'm reflecting on it, it definitely was about a sexual dysfunction of me not truly being present. But big level up for us.
Right. And that's a really great idea. It's also important to note that you want to get the right music because too slow can end up that your rhythm's going too slow and it can become a distraction. Too fast, you're not really getting that connection going. So it's finding the music that works for you and also knowing that if sometimes music can be a distraction and it's not helping. So that falls into understanding each other's requirements for sex and knowing that our mind will just wander off anytime that it can, and that we as individuals are responsible for bringing it back and bringing our awareness back into the present moment. But it's not just about being present, because many men who experience early ejaculation, known as premature ejaculation, they think they're being 100% present with how arousing their partner is and how much their partner turns them on, and they couldn't be any more present with how erotic and amazing it is. But because he is focusing too much attention on how erotic everything is and less attention on the actions of sex, which just help to balance his sexual focus, then he's actually doing himself a disservice. So it's not just about being present. It's about giving your brain signals relevant to feeling connected, giving your brain signals relevant to feeling totally horny, and balancing that sexual focus between yourself, your partner, and the actions of sex. And that's a big part of psychosexual alignment, is knowing what to focus on, what to switch focus to if you start becoming distracted. And then if you've started to go off key, like for a male, he starts feeling over aroused or starts feeling like he's losing his erection hardness, he needs to know what he needs to do right in that moment to restore harden and control. Right? So there are specific actions, specific focal points, and not trying to override the anxiety. If you try and override anxiety, that's like, well, if I say don't think about a black car, you're immediately thinking about a black car. So if you're trying not to think about ejaculating, or you're trying not to think about losing erection hardness, that's exactly what signal you're giving your brain to do, a very clear image of what you don't want.
Yeah. So, Jacqui, we've heard you talk about sex being a little bit like walking on a tightrope. So does this all play into that analogy?
Yes. So with a male, I've made a joke in the past, maybe not a very good one, but it's like women have the role of giving birth to children. So they're gifted with the ability to have multiple orgasms during one sexual act. They can just keep going and going and going. With the right knowledge and technique, orgasm's not a problem anymore. But with a male, he has to stay hard and in control for the entire duration that it takes for his female to reach an orgasm. And he gets one orgasm, but he doesn't have to do the childbirthing.
That's the trade-off.
It's a trade-off. Yeah. So,
and all those women out there who are not having children, they're like, yes, I got all the prize with none of the trade-off.
Yeah. So that's what it's like for walking a tightrope for a male. And when his partner finds it difficult to reach an orgasm, then that can be like 20 minutes that he's focusing on foreplay. He needs to stay hard during that time because his partner's going to say, okay, penetrate me now. You know, I want you inside me. And if he's been putting too much attention on the task of giving foreplay, he's going to look down on himself and say, oh my gosh, I've gone soft. And then he's going to try and overstimulate himself to get hard, which can a lot of the time result in ejaculating early. And this is where it becomes really challenging for couples. And yet when you have the right knowledge and you know how to balance your sexual focus and you've practiced that, then you're able to focus on the connection. And that's when sex becomes engaging and fun and something that you want to do, something that you're wanting to share with your partner, something that you keep wanting to do after giving birth, after perimenopause and menopause and into your 70s and 80s. You can keep your sex life going as a couple. Yeah. If you're dealing with the pain and the distractions and understand arousal and desire, the influences there, then all of the actions that you take will just keep you coming together and, pardon the pun, but bringing you together.
Love that. Hey, so Jacqui, what would you say is like the number one top tip or practical thing that couples could implement from the psychosexual alignment method?
It's really about understanding yourself. It's understanding what you need to be present on. If you're allowing your mind to wander to past problems, that's going to be a distraction. It's going to affect your sexual function. It's going to affect your ability to connect. If you are worried about future problems, same thing. You're going to be distracted. You need to be on task, on point, and that's really about understanding how your body operates sexually, how to coordinate your brain and your body so that you're enhancing those new neural pathways. And it doesn't matter how long you have experienced a disconnection problem or a sexual function problem, once you have the right knowledge and technique, it's like going from using a Windows Vista operating system to Windows 10. You don't need to keep fixing all the bugs and trying to keep fixing all the bugs. You're just running a new operating system. It's clean, it's clear. You're just moving forward from this point in time. So to be able to connect sexually, enhance connection, get rid of the distractions and the pain issues so that you can come together in a very satisfying manner.
I really like that analogy of taking a moment, time, money, energy, whatever it is that you need to do to invest in upgrading your operating system so that you stop solving the problems and level up the operating system. I really like that. Hey, Jacqui, there's been such a great conversation and we've taken a deep dive into some things that people probably don't talk about as often as maybe they should. But to say thank you for joining us. We've given 100 days of medication to nursery school children in Ethiopia. We want to be the change in our relationship, but we also want to be the change in the world. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Jacqui, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about the psychosexual alignment strategy, how should they do that?
I recommend there's a report that I have available through endtheproblem.com/more. And that's just a report on how to restore a happy and satisfying sex life. So it's about understanding the imbalances and what's causing them and what you need to focus on to really move your relationship forward. I also have a complimentary strategy session. Again, you can access that through endtheproblem.com, and that'll just help you identify any areas that you need to work on and the best way forward from there.
Yeah, amazing.
Beautiful. People should snap that up. I'm assuming we can Zoom you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you so much, Jacqui. This has been amazing.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to share these insights. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.